call expireds because if you want, if you want to be, I decided my third year in the business that I needed listings immediately. And if the only way for me to do it was for sell by owners or expireds, because my sphere
Right.
of influence was broke college kids at the time. And
Yes.
I kind of cut my chops with FISBOs, right? So with
Okay.
expireds, it's the same thing. I don't really consider expireds or for sell by owners a cold call because you're calling them for a reason, right? So if we
Okay.
change the perspective, that it's going to be a little bit of a warmer call. And great. We have Walter on the line. Walter's built quite a business with expired listings. Walter, I don't know if you want to run this scenario. Maybe we can even have Sarah be the expired seller if you'd like to be. But
Yeah.
it's tough when you never talk to them, right? Because you don't know what they'll say.
Exactly.
All right, yeah. So I can do this. Walter, I don't know if you want to participate, if you want to run an expired scenario. Can't take a call.
Hey,
he just
I
messaged
have
me.
an
Miguel,
idea
how are you?
because
Welcome.
hey, I have an idea because I just made an expired call yesterday,
Okay.
and I have maybe a perfect scenario that you guys might be able to use.
Perfect. So Miguel, do you want to be the seller? You'd be like the expired seller, and I could call you. I'll be the agent. And does that sound good? You just give me a little bit of background. What might I know about this expired listing? Tell me a little bit about the house or the situation.
Okay, so I'm an expired listing. I'm the owner. I'm the owner of the house. I've listed
Okay.
it before. I've listed it before with another brokerage, another
Okay.
listing agent. It's
Okay.
already been 6 months. I don't. I'm not in a hurry to sell. But it's that.
Oh, we lost Miguel.
Yeah, he got cut off. Oh man.
We lost Miguel. We can and we'll wait for him to come back on. He'll be able to
Sure.
pop back on pretty quick, hopefully, if he's got access to it. So, Sarah, you see here a little bit about the scenario. I mean, a typical expired, a typical listing, a lot of the times is going to be that 6 month time frame. And
Yep.
one of the distinctions I always like to make is it a new expired or is it an older expired? Because calling fresh expired, something that just expired this week that's newly expired might have a little bit more agent activity on it with regards to prospecting than an older expired. So just a different strategy. If you want a little bit sometimes of a softer or easier call, it's to call an older expired, right? So what area do you sell real estate in?
I'm doing the Bronx right now. I'm usually, all of my rental business was in the city.
Okay.
Hello.
But yeah, to get my feet wet in sales,
Yeah.
I'm gonna start here in the Bronx.
Okay. So we got Miguel back on the line. I was just telling Sarah that like what we're talking about, Miguel, with your situation, it's a new expired, somebody that just recently expired, right? And I'm telling Sarah she's about to jump into sales, start calling expireds. Another strategy is to call older expireds, especially with this market, right, Sarah? So if you look at Bronx and you say, 6 months ago, 8 months ago, how much has the price changed? And then you could kind of call an older expired with good news and saying, hey, I saw you were on the market that long ago. And, the median sale price is up 7%. Just curious, if you got your price today, would you think about making a move again? Right. And sometimes there's less competition. But let's run this with Miguel, this new expired scenario. So, Miguel, can you be the seller?
Oh, well, actually, it was an old expired. It expired over 4 months ago.
Oh, it expired over 4 months ago. Okay. And where is it?
It's over here on Belvedere and Jog Road.
West Palm Beach.
West Palm Beach.
All right, great. And it expired 4 months ago, and it was on the market for 6 months, and now they're not in a rush, right? Okay, let's do this. I'm going to give you a call. Ready?
Okay, go ahead.
Ring, ring.
Hello, this is Miguel.
Hey, Miguel, this is Chris, your favorite real estate agent. How are you?
I'm doing good, Chris. How are you? What are you looking
Awesome.
for?
Every day above ground's a good day. I was actually just giving you a call. I saw you were selling. You were on the market, 4 months ago over there in West Palm Beach, and just giving you a call to find out what happened. I mean, did you end up selling the house? Are you still looking to make a move?
No, thank you. I'm not looking to list my house right now. I'm okay.
Okay. I saw you were actually, you were asking $699. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's 589.
Oh, 589, great. So I don't know if you're aware that the market in West Palm Beach is actually up 8% over 4 months ago. I mean, things are really going crazy. So let me ask you, if you were to get your price today, a quick sale without having to list it, would you still consider making a move?
Yes.
You would. All right, so
Yes.
this is what I'd like to do. I mean, is there a time we could come over and take a look at the house, kind of explain to you how it works, and we'll see. I mean, there's a backlog of buyers right now. We might be able to move this thing for you full price really quickly. So, what's a good time for you to meet? Do you prefer mornings or afternoons?
Look, I'm really I don't feel I don't feel I don't feel ready to list again. I'm not
Mhm.
interested in listing. I've already
Okay.
listed. The house didn't sell. I'm just waiting for the market to just continue going up again. So
Well, so you were asking 589. So my question is, if we can get you 589 quickly without you having to sign a listing agreement, I mean, would you take that offer?
yeah.
Awesome. So why don't we get together? I could take a look at the property. We could see how it looks. I'll explain to you how that works, and we'll see if we can make a quick deal happen. And I won't even bring a pen. We won't even talk about listing your property. We'll just see if we can make a quick deal happen. So, Doug, can we get together? I mean, do you like mornings or afternoons?
Um, I'll do the afternoon. I'll do the
Afternoon,
afternoon.
perfect. So, as far as afternoon, I have tomorrow at 3 available, or the following day at 4:30. What works for you? Thursday 3 o'clock, Friday 4:30.
Friday 4:30.
All right, Friday 4:30. Listen, Miguel, what I'll do is after we hang up, I'll shoot you over a text message with a link to some of my information, and I'll confirm the morning of, and we'll go from there. And if you have any questions in the meantime, just feel free to give me a call, okay? And I'm also going to shoot you some market data as well. Is there a good email address for you? I mean, do you prefer to get that by email than text message?
Just send it to text message.
You got it. Great. We'll be in communication. I appreciate you taking the call, Miguel. I'll see you Friday 4:30. Take care.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Was that how'd you feel, Miguel, as that seller? I mean, a couple times you weren't comfortable. I didn't want to list. So how'd you feel as a seller? I mean, we got the appointment.
Well, when I called the seller, that's exactly the scenario that played out.
Okay.
It was a very, very similar scenario.
Mhm.
And I did the exact same thing you did. He
Yeah.
was like, he was not looking to list anything,
Mhm.
but he's still interested in making a deal. So
Yeah.
the scenario that we just played out is perfect, because I'll tell you right now, this guy, when he picked up the phone, the first thing he told me before I even introduced myself, I'm not interested in listing my
Yeah.
house. No,
Yeah.
thank you. No,
You
thank
had
you.
a bad experience. Yeah. Well, look, and when you have to play into the market, and you have to play into the listening of the seller. So clearly the seller had a bad experience. First of all, I want to mention that our goal on any of these calls is not to list the house, is to get a yes to an appointment, right? So once we're in front of them, I mean, is this the type of market? I mean, in West Palm Beach, is it possible for him to sell that thing at full price if it's priced well, without you even listing it? I mean, talk to any agent in South Florida, and they've got 5, 6, 7 buyers ready to go, right?
Yeah.
And Sarah,
Yeah.
it might be the same thing in Bronx. Walter's up in Bronx and Westchester too, and that's the kind of market that we're in. So this is a strategy that you could use. Now, is it possible that you might get there? Take a look at the house, and is it possible that it's not necessarily priced correctly? So then, I mean, I would reevaluate and possibly set up another appointment and say, hey, look, I think you might be a little bit off the mark with the price, not much. Let's schedule a time to get together. I could go over an updated market analysis with you. I mean, when's the last time? And when they're listed for 6 months, how many agents do market analysis over and over again during the course of the listing? Most agents that I know, they'll do a market analysis
Once, and that's
take
it.
the listing. Yeah. And then if they don't sell it in 30 days, they give up. Right. So I think this is something, this is an opportunity, right? But once you're face to face with them, once you're able to have a conversation, once they see you're sincere, you're honest, they like what you're about, you're professional, then their listening is different. They're like, well, maybe this guy or girl knows what they're talking about. Maybe there is something that I missed. Maybe it could have been marketed differently. Maybe it does make sense to put it on the market, So
Yeah.
but you want to ease your way into those conversations. You don't want to come in with the hammer so quick up front on the telephone to kind of try to get them to convince to list. Convince them to the list right up front on the phone. Now I know Walter, Walter can't talk right now, but Walter goes on a lot of appointments. So he qualifies his appointments a little bit, he qualifies his appointments to want to make sure he's not going out there to waste his time. Right.
Yep.
So, and everybody's different depending on what you got going on in your schedule. I mean, look, I know when I started doing this, if somebody told me, hey, come on over, I'll meet you, I wanted to do anything to get off the phone and out of the office. So just to get in front of somebody and practice, learning how to listen to people, learning how to communicate with people at the highest level, right?
Yep.
Any other feedback? I mean, Sarah, did you have any questions around that? Or Miguel or Shannon or anybody? Because I know it's, it's a lot and it seems simple, right? It seems simple. It's just kind of,
It's
ahead.
just about making the seller feel comfortable when you call them and not the pushy salesman type of voice,
Yeah.
I guess. Warm it up, like you said.
Yeah. Well, it's, sometimes they're gonna listen. You're gonna hear you as a salesperson, regardless, especially if they had experience with agents in the past or whatever. So you have to understand that they're gonna hear you through that filter. So my objection here, like with regards to like the scenario with Miguel, is he told me a couple times that he didn't want to list. And each time I said, great, if we can get this thing sold for you without you listing, I mean, would you make a move then? I'm actually not making any promises. I'm just casting out a possibility. I'm just creating a possibility. Hey, if this were possible, and I mean, I would do that with anybody. Hey, if that's possible, would you build? Yes, I'm looking for a yes. Great. Well, when can we meet? Right. And then now I'm going to follow up with them with a text message. I'm going to send them a link to some market data, maybe to take a look. Hey, just want to show you where I got my stats from. And I might do something, and I could get that from MLS or another tool that I might have. You all have access to it. And then I'm going to, follow up to confirm the day of, and I'm going to try to get the email at some point, because I'd like to send a pre-listing email that shows all the things that I do, this, with links to click on it and say, check it out here, check it out there. I like to send a video to them to introduce myself so they can kind of see me and hear me. And look, sometimes they won't give you the email. They're apprehensive to it, but sometimes they do. And at the very least, you're building your database, right?
Yep.
Good deal.
Okay, so when you're there with the client, then everything else goes into play.
Well, here's the thing. I'm going to go there ready to talk about a listing or marketing agreement, but I'm not going to, that first time that I'm there, I'm not going to go in there and push a listing, since I went over there saying, hey, can we get this thing sold without listing it? So I'm first going to explore that opportunity with them and say, okay, here's how this works for me to sell it without a listing agreement. And then you have to explain to them the different ways, right? So there's two ways to do an open listing. Number one, an open listing agreement with the seller. Number two, a buyer agency agreement with the buyer. So you have to have some kind of agreement in place, and you have to be able to explain and articulate that to them, right? And just explain to them how it works. And they're like, okay, great, I understand how this works. And then you kind of take a look at it, see if you can get it done. And look, you might have a buyer locked and loaded, ready to go. And if you do, you'd sit down with them, you say, okay, I think I've got someone in mind. How would you like to work it? Would you like to sort out an open listing agreement with me, or would you like me to sort out a buyer agency agreement with the buyer? Or you might have a buyer agency agreement already available. So already a buyer agency agreement already in place with that buyer. And I know buyer agency is not as popular in New York as it is in other states, I think. But there are people that are doing buyer agency. I know Walter on the Sarmiento team, his sister Damaris is doing buyer agency almost exclusively with every buyer, which is a good idea. Do you guys have any questions on that? Or let's, we have time, we'll run another scenario.
Yeah, I have another scenario with a FSBO.
A FSBO scenario, let's do it.
Okay, so me and my clients are driving down the street and we see this beautiful house. It's on 2.5 acres. It's also in the same area between like Forest Hill and Jog Road, somewhere around there.
Okay.
We get there, we get out, and I go and pretend I'm the I'm the agent, and I go up and I talk to him. He comes out, and he's like, no realtors, straight away, no realtors.
Yeah.
And I tell him, look, sir, I have some buyers with me. We're cash buyers, and we're looking for something within the 500 to 600 range. And then he tells me, oh, well, this house is going for 9,775. Okay. And I'm like, really? Okay, so you put yourself in that scenario. This guy does not want to work with a realtor. He's not in a rush to sell. He's looking at since I came here with an offer, or at least a buyer that's potential, like he started opening up a little bit.
Well, that's not, well, yeah, he saw that you had a buyer with him, but that buyer is not for that property, clearly, because that property is either grossly overpriced or the buyer that's a different market than the buyer. So for that situation, it was a great way for you to kind of initiate the conversation. But why don't we, so why don't we do this? Does anybody want to take that as an agent calling this for sale by owner after you left with the buyers and you're just kind of giving them a call? Does anybody want to try it, or do you want to hear my stupid voice again?
I want to hear your voice, Chris.
Oh, geez. Yeah, I get so tired of hearing myself. I was like, I was hoping, Shannon, I hope you're listening. You're going to be calling Fizbos today, I guess, right? So okay, so this is the deal. I already met this gentleman in the front of the house with the buyers. It was out of their price range. Now later the next day, I'm going to give a follow-up call. Okay. All right. So ring, ring.
One more thing you should probably know. They during that conversation, I talked to the guy for about 20-30 minutes, and the conversation he brought up he's building he bought a plot of land up by Ponce Inlet, and he's going to be building it. He mentioned that he might need a realtor with maybe in like the next 2 or 3 months.
Sure.
So let's put ourselves in a scenario where he's busy up in Daytona and his house is over here sitting.
Cool, great. And we now know something new about him, that he buys land and he develops. Do we possibly have something that he wants? We might come across land and we might want to put him on our list of developers. So let's see how this conversation goes. Ready? Ring, ring.
Hello.
Hi, Miguel.
Hey, who's this?
Yeah, this is Chris, your favorite realtor. We just bumped into each other yesterday. I was courting around some buyers. I saw you were selling your house by owner. It happened to be out of their price range. How are you?
Oh yeah, I remember you, kid. What's going on?
Yeah, nothing. So I just wanted to give a follow-up call, now that we're not in front of the buyers. And, I understand that, at 990, you were kind of out of their price range, but I was just curious if I did happen to have a buyer, because there's plenty of them out there that gave you what you were looking for, without you having to list. And even after a commission was paid, you netted what you were looking for. I mean, would you be willing to accept an offer from that buyer?
Well, yeah, if you have a buyer for me to bring him over, I told you that yesterday.
Oh, excellent. Perfect. So I'm going to go through my database of buyers. And, I got a handful of buyers that they keep getting shut out of houses, outbid. They can't get into things. Right. So they're really excited about these, what we call off-market properties. And so what I'll do is I'll work with them. I can list them as I make them a buyer client of mine, or you and I could sort something out upfront as an open listing agreement. Just if I sell it, I get paid this out of the transaction. If I don't, nothing happens. I mean, do you have a preference of which way you prefer to work?
Well, I prefer not to sign anything, and I don't like being pushed around like I told you.
Perfect.
When I first saw you, kid, I'll tell you what, like I saw the paint splatters on your foot, and I really like that. I see that you work hard. But like I told you, I'm not interested in working with realtors. I just want you to bring me a buyer, and we'll see what happens.
I understand. Okay, great, Miguel. So here's the deal. I'm going to go back. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to look through my database of buyers, see if your house is perfect for any of them. And then I am going to do a buyer agency agreement with them. So I just want to let you know that walking through the door with the buyer, I will be representing the buyer in their fiduciary duties, right? So, which is cool. It doesn't require you to sign anything, which is really what you're looking for. On the other note, you did mention that you got some land up in Daytona you're going to be developing.
Yeah, it's going to be the final build. I'm finally retired. I don't want to live here anymore. I just want to move over there. We're going to build the dream home, and that's where we're going to end it.
Okay, so you're buying a home to live in. You're not buying a home for investment or to sell it or anything like that. You're going to just build it and that's it.
Yep, we're building it. And we're going to be over there for over the next 6 months.
Perfect.
And yeah, so we're gonna be over there for the next 6 months. My house, we want to sell it. We don't want it anymore. It's a beautiful home. We built it ourselves, everything from the ground up, and we're really sad to see it go.
I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. Listen, let's see if we can move this house for you as quick as possible. If not, and you end up having to make a move, I'd be happy, to develop this relationship with you. I could be in several different ways. I could be your boots on the ground locally. So this is what I'm going to do, Miguel. Let me make a couple of phone calls, see who I've got. The next time I call you, we'll be ready to make an appointment and come show it to, one buyer at least. And we'll go from there. Okay. And if I don't have anybody, I'll let you know as well. And I'll just check in with you periodically. But I think we can get something going on this. Sound good?
Sounds good.
Awesome, Miguel. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.
All right. So in that scenario, I didn't go to book an appointment because I didn't have the buyer absolutely ready. I just got him to agree to give me the appointment once I have the buyer lined up, right? And I also found
Right.
out how he wants to work. So he didn't want to, I'd rather not sign, so he doesn't want to sign an open listing agreement, which means I'm going to have to do a listing agreement with the buyer, which means that I'm going to have to negotiate a commission with the buyer, which means that now the seller has no say in the commission. So it's actually silly for him to have done that, right? Because now I can negotiate a 3% commission with the buyer if I want, and it's built into there. And you know, that's either going to be paid on the side or built right into the transaction, which the seller does have to agree to, right? So Miguel, you see, see how your follow-up can be?
Yeah, I like how you point the positives and the negatives. For example, like he thinks he's putting putting down a good card by saying, I don't want to work with realtors. I don't want to sign anything. But then you go around and telling him, okay, you don't want to work with anyone, fine. If I find someone, you're gonna go by my terms. And
Exactly. And nobody talks to them, that nobody's having this conversation with them. That's a problem. And why do you think they don't want to work with a realtor? There's some kind of, they don't want to be committed. They don't want to be stuck in an agreement. You know, they don't want to be married to one person. There's all these kinds of different reasons. So just by, you know, addressing that, we say, hey, look, we can work together. I know you don't want to work with a realtor. You don't want to sign anything. Somebody's got to sign something. So if it's not you, it's the buyer. Just please understand, if they retain me, I'm representing their fiduciary duties. So I'm telling him that up front. So that way, when he does not, I'm giving him, you know, because I'm letting him know that don't tell me anything that's going to weaken your negotiating position, because now I owe fiduciary duties to them, right? Because now you're working with the buyer, you're going to want to get it for the cheapest price possible, the buyer's best terms, right? Whereas if you're representing the seller, you're looking to get them the best terms possible. So that's a kind of, you know, any for sale by owner call can be like that, by the way, not even just somebody that you bumped into. The for sale by owner call is just, I don't want to work with a realtor. I don't want to sign anything. I don't want to list the property. But a lot of them say, if you have a buyer, bring them. What do you do in that situation? I don't bring buyers without taking a look at the house first, right? So it's like, hey, let's take a look at the house. Let's shake hands. Let's meet. Let's decide how we would work together. And then if everything is cool, I will then go into my, you know, database of buyers, backlogged buyers. I'll do a quick search, see who might be appropriate for this, and then we'll bring them by, see if we can do a quick sale, and everybody's happy, right? So you got to take control of it sometimes, because sometimes, you know, agents are just, you know, they have commission breath, and all of a sudden a FSBO will tell them something, and they'll be like, oh yeah, okay, I'll bring a buyer, or, you know, I have buyers. Well, bring a buyer. I'm not letting you in unless you bring a buyer. And then the agent's like, okay. And then we have agents bringing buyers to for sale by owners with no protection, no representation. You know, there's no agency disclosure showing them who they're representing, right? So
danger.
Yeah, it is danger, right? So in Florida, typically we represent the transaction brokerage. You're not representing buyers, which is interesting, you know? Whereas in New York, it's very clear. You're seller broker, your buyer broker, or your broker's broker, right? So typically everybody in New York represents the seller, unless you are showing a co-broke, then you're a broker's agent, which you're still representing the seller via your broker, or you're a buyer agent, which means you have a buyer agency agreement in place with the buyer. So there's no transaction brokerage. So you really have to decide that up front. And that's why I explain to people, that's why we have to meet before I walk a buyer through your door. So if somebody says, I don't want to let you in unless you have a buyer. Well, unfortunately, I don't work that way, because I do everything legally and ethically. May I explain? Has anybody spoken to you about, disclosure, about the legal disclosure that we have to do, the agency disclosure? You know, sometimes people are like, wait, nobody ever mentioned that. Why? Because they have all these hack agents saying yes to whatever and operating, you know, and I'm like, really, are agents bringing people to your house without disclosing who they're working for? I'm like, well, that's illegal. And unfortunately, I don't work that way. May I explain? You know, let me guess, you probably haven't gotten any offers out of that. Let me guess, you probably felt like they might've been working for the buyer. Who are they working for? You were the buyer. Whose interests they have in mind? I mean, when people walk into a courtroom, it's very clear there's a plaintiff and a defendant, an attorney for each, and we know who's representing who. Imagine going to court and not knowing who the attorneys represent. That's crazy, isn't it? But why do we do that in agency? Go ahead, Sarah.
No, definitely. That was the perfect example right there.
Yeah.
You go to court and somebody's being represented by someone.
Yeah, you know,
defendant and plaintiff.
Exactly. You know, everyone's got representation, even when there's more than one party, and it's pretty clear who represents who. Imagine a situation where nobody knew who represented, and saying, look, as a licensed professional in this state, I'm required by law to disclose who I represent, who I have fiduciary duties to. And you guys should always know your fiduciary duties, right? Know what you owe to your client, what you owe to your customer, or Miguel, in your case in West Palm Beach, what you owe to the transaction. Who do you owe each thing to? So that's always what you want to look at. And that is one angle. Again, I'd rather have these conversations face to face with a for sale by owner, but sometimes say as little as you need as possible just to get them curious enough to want to meet you in person. And that's when the magic happens. Try to get into as little conversations as possible over the phone. Just get that yes to a meeting or an appointment. And then when you're in front of them, that's when you're going to cast the problems and the pitfalls and the challenges and these things. And at the same time that you're developing a relationship with them, you're also setting yourself aside and they're saying, wow, no other agent mentioned this to me. No other agent talked to me like this, right? Nobody, I didn't know about this stuff. And guess what? If they fact check you, what are they going to come up with? And right. And we're going to bring a disclosure agreement right to that appointment and show it to them.
Guys, what Chris is saying is really powerful because I brought it up as well before with another listing lead. So this guy, he told me, hey, I want to list with you, kid, but I've been working with this guy. This guy's like my best friend. We knew each other since high school, since we graduated in '73, and I'm not gonna go against him. And then I asked him one thing. I asked him, how are you being represented? Are you being represented as a transaction broker? Are you being represented as a single agency? And he asked me, well, I didn't say those answers first. I just asked him, how are you being represented here? And then his brain started moving. Like you could see that no one, and Chris really means it, no one talks to people like this.
Yeah.
It really shows that you care, that you're very detailed, and you're working like covering your back. Like no one wants to go out there.
And like guys, we all went through licensing school and we hated it, and it was a lot of legal and boring stuff. However, we have a license because of it. Let them peek behind the curtain and see what the wizard's doing back there, right? Give them a little glimpse to the behind the scenes of, I mean, because you guys know as well as I do, are there, I mean, how many great real estate agents are there out there, right? So most of the people that you know with a real estate license are probably not that great. So, and to have these professional high level conversations with an intelligent person, it's going to set you apart inside. So be aware of what all of your tools are. What are all the tools that you have to use? And I mean, I go right into pulling out these legal documents, these disclosures. Well, I don't want to sign anything. I understand that. You don't want to list. You will have to sign something eventually to acknowledge who the agent is representing. Here's what that looks like. And it says on it, this is not a contract. And it's like, are people showing your house without having you sign this? And they say, oh yeah, wow, that's illegal. I'm surprised that's happening. I'm disappointed in my industry. Right. I said, unfortunately, I don't operate illegally. Right. I have a license. This is how I provide for my family. And I'm not willing to jeopardize that. Here's why. Right. And when you do that, they listen to you differently. But that's awesome, guys. Does anybody have any questions or comments? We had 2 great role plays, expireds and for sale by owners. And I think you guys have enough to kind of just go out there and practice, just to have conversations with people. Do you guys have any questions? And then we'll end this call and kind of let you guys go to the wolves and see what happens. Anything else? All right, guys.
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's do it. That's right. What's up, Miguel?
I just had a quick question. There's I wanted to see if there's any other ways to cold call. I know there's for sale by owners and there's expired listings, but I was wondering if there's something more that I could do in order to get more repetition.
Yeah, well, what I can do is like you can subscribe to a service like RedX. If you want, Miguel, I'll shoot you an email of what that does, and you can get a demo from the company, and that kind of pulls all the data for you for expireds, FSBOs, and it makes your job a lot easier. And you can even do an automatic dialer and things like that. So I always tell people to start making calls manually. See that it works for you and that's something that you really want to do. And then if you want to invest a little money and spend 40 or 50 bucks a month on a service that's going to give you all the data and make it easy for you, that's a home run. Some of you might be in offices that offer stuff like this too. But Miguel, I'll shoot you an email offline. Okay, bud?
Awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Chris.
My pleasure. Every Wednesday, we'll see you 8:30 to 9. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear about your successes and your challenges. You have my email. Please shoot me an email and share with me. Okay, guys?
Thank
Talk to you soon.
We will.